Okay, so today we're going to continue with our Edwardian looks, which has been requested. And we've got to realise that, like any era, it's split into different times. You've got a good 10-year, maybe a little bit more period of these looks, and they expanded as they went through, the same as their hats. But for younger people, teenagers up to about 17, the idea of the Pompadour in its larger form was obviously not done. It was definitely an adult look. And so what I want to do now is just run through a couple of teenage looks, very simple, very quick looks that would have been acceptable and popular at the time. They include braiding, just some plaiting into the back, but it's basically how we're going to dress the fronts that'll make the difference. And so I'll do two of these looks on this video because they won't take too long to do. And then with the other videos, I'll be doing more with hair pieces, with the rolls, with the width of the hair, and explaining why and how that went. So what I'm going to do now is start the braid. So we've chosen a parting, and as you would have seen with a lot of the still pictures that I've included into the videos, Victorian times into Edwardian times, it was all about the long hair. It was all about it being like extremely long, and in the evenings people would braid their hair to get it out the way. And so some of this hair, as you've seen, like went right the way down to the floor. And so again, most people, and unlike most of the movies you watch, where people's hair is absolutely perfect, most people were doing their hair at home themselves before they went to work, before they scrubbed the step, before they did whatever they were doing for the day. And so the idea of braiding, getting it out of the way in the evenings and then letting it down, you would have a lot of this crinkly texture. Yes, you can smooth out if you can afford to do that, but this also helped to give a bit of grip and a bit of texture to the hair, because backcombing was actually a thing then, but it had different names as things do throughout history. So we've chosen a parting, we've got this like textured look to the hair, and what we're going to do is the sort of look that you would have for going out for a walking dress. A walking dress or a walking skirt would be what a young lady would wear to do a constitutional. So something above ankle with a pair of boots, because they're younger, so it's not floor length, and it would be suitable for walking through the park or walking through the neighbourhood, etc. We're going to start, as I say, with a parting, and then I'll turn this around and we're going to come towards the back. What we're going to do actually, let me just turn this back, because I've got the parting and because I'm choosing an area around the temple, I'm just going to do that on either side, and then I'm going to draw that back almost like a pre-Raphaelite type look. If you think about it, it's got a very smooth center, so we're just pulling that back, allowing it to drop so that on the front area you have a little bit of softness onto the face. Move it back into the back, and then I'm just really scooping an area from the center of the back, and I'm going to fold that first side over it. We're going to decide on our amount of softness, and then we're dropping this side over as well. So what we're doing is we're just starting a braid. It's not rocket science, but it just keeps it nice and soft. Now your first section will go back over again, and now we will start drawing from the temple through and pull this hair into the sides. You can use a brush or a comb, but I'm just going to work with my fingers as much as possible because again, a lot of people would have just been doing this and getting their hair out of the way and just respectable for stepping out. After 17 was considered that this is the time that you moving towards womanhood, and you would be taught or shown how to start doing your hair up and wearing it in more classic styles for the period. But for now, we're just braiding this through. So now that we've got that looseness on the top, then as we work through, obviously you're tightening this towards the head shape. So we're just working through and we're just braiding this down. You can see the amount of volume. I mean, there's quite a lot of hair in this mannequin anyway, but because of the braiding that's been done on the hair, it just gives it that extra texture and body, which is really quite nice. Once you've started your braid or your plait, according to where you're from, you'll continue through just picking up from each side as you work towards the nape. Drop anything that you don't want, and just take your time. Working through to your last sections, pull this across, check underneath, anything that we need to grab. So powders and waxes, again, would have been around, different pomades. And for an adult, you would necessarily use those things more, but again, with a child or a young adult, that would not be necessary because these are very loose, soft sort of looks. As we work to the bottom, I shall just grab a very small elastic. At the time it would have been the ribbon straight away, but I'm just going to secure this a little bit. And then if you look at the ribbons at the time that were being used, they were quite what I would call fat. They're quite large ribbons. And you'll see in pictures right way through into the First World War and even into the 20s, children again with little bob cuts, they're pinned back and they've got these massive bows. They're just a very popular thing that carried on through from this period and then gradually faded out. But for some reason, the larger the bow, the better it seemed to look to people at the time, so it was very popular. I'm just going to do 2 loops and bring that through if it'll behave. Normally not. There we go. And then you can just feed the ends of your ribbon through and just decorate them through a bit more. Puff them out a little bit. This is staying down for this particular braid, so we'll just leave the ribbon on the end. But the biggest thing for this is just the idea of this through the front, and you can that front section can be pulled a little bit more forward if you want, but the idea is that you get that nice slope which moves back into the nape area. And again, you know, with your high collar blouse, etc., that would look quite nice. So it's a very simple look, as I say, a teenage look. I'll pull her head off so you can see. And we're working through just with the braid, soft on the top, so you've got this nice area of contrast between the soft top and then braided right the way down, and then finished with the ribbon on the bottom. With the second look, which is also from the Women's Journal, it suggests that the Pompadour is allowed, but it's very soft and small. So we'll work on that one next, and that'll be our second look, again for anyone up to about 17. And then with other videos we'll move on to more elaborate looks for gentry or people going out for the evening, or even day wear, race courses, going shopping, etc, etc. So I hope you like this, and we'll move straight on to the second look. Okay, so we're back with our mannequin, and we're working, as we said before, on hair for teenagers. So Edwardian hair up to around 17 years old. With this one, it is allowing for a little bit of a pompadour at the front. And again, still going to be very soft. We're not doing anything over elaborate because it's a young person and you're not wanting to send the wrong message. And so what we're going to do is, it's suggested that the front and the back are separated and then you're working in two areas. So what we're going to do is separate from the ear on both sides, and we'll just clip that out of the way. It says, he who left his clips on the other side of the room. So professional. Okay, so one clip on the ear there, another clip over just around the ear on this side, and then we're coming back to the back. And we are going to start to braid this or plait it. So you're back where we were before with the first look, except we're taking this from basically, you know, around the top of the crown. I love the way this hair fills out when it's braided like this. It really does have that sort of Edwardian Victorian look about it. So we're just going to start this braid. And you're coming round from the sides, just bringing that together. Either use your finger or a tail comb. I like a tail comb just because it's, I've always said it's like your smallest finger. It just can get in areas that you can't and just helps you draw the hair across. You can always use a hairpin as well. Combs and pieces were very, very popular during this period. A lot of tortoise shell, much to the chagrin of the tortoises, of course, and even shell and other things were used, and gold, silver, etc., according to your budget and what you were working with. Okay, so I'm just around midway on the head shape, so sort of occipital area. And I'm now going to just pause for a minute, and I'm just going to, actually I'll take the clip out, and I'm just going to hold that together for now, because I want to leave that because we're now moving back into the front area. Okay, so here comes the slight pompadour, and what we're going to do is take a little section on both sides of the temple. I'll try and stay out of the way so you can see, and we're going to lift this length of hair up. I'll comb it as I go just to make sure that we don't have too many tangles working back, because we are going to be braiding it. And I'm just going to back comb down a little bit just into the front. I'll let that go, and then I'm going to come behind it. So I'm just going to use my tail comb to draw across. Get a little bit more hair. It's going to lift all the other hair up, so just take your time. Again, combing it through just to get any tangles out, and then just back comb down. This model, because of the length of it, is actually synthetic, so it's not going to like me very much and react well. I could put some spray on, But again, I'm just giving us the idea of this. Just a little bit more back. As you can see, I'm not taking the sides into this, I'm just working through on this top area, and there is a method to my madness. So bear with me for a minute. At the time, bristle brushes, boar's bristle, and brushes of that nature would have been the most popular. Obviously now we have Denman brushes, we have bristle, we have round brushes. You know, whatever you happen to have in your toolkit is fine, but at the time it would have definitely been like a bristle brush, because that would have been the most popular. Okay, so you can see I'm using a bristle brush now, and I'm just smoothing over the outside of that shape. And then I'm just going to grab my tail comb again with these areas that are soft and not backcombed, and I'm just going to draw them now up into that shape. One side and then the opposite side, and again you've got quite a lot of hair that you're working with any of these looks at any stage, whether it's an adult or a child, so just take your time, swear under your breath if you need to, and just get that hair into place. Okay. And then in the back, all I'm literally doing is just brushing through, just to take out any tangles which I've inevitably put in, because one, it's got a braided texture, and two, I've been not only backcombing but drawing the hair up, pulling it away from where it wants to be, and so so once I have this hair up, I can then split it again. Turn the first 3 sections of a braid over, because that way I can keep these sides tight, and I can show you on this side, it's the same on both sides. You are basically pulling the side up, you can pull it tight, and then you're dropping the braid over, and then because you're braiding this, you can now lift the front section up. And if you want a little bit more lift, I mean, again, it's a young person, you're not going to go crazy, it's not like an adult sort of look, but as you braid this down, which is loose obviously because it's just the top area, you can push it forward, which will allow you to have that little bit more lift in that area. And I'll show you afterwards as well, you can actually pin slightly to do that as well. But the statement is small, it's not a large statement as you would have with an adult, or else it just sends the wrong message. Okay, so we're working down now. We're working down to the braid we've already got. We're going to take that pin out, I can put that up there for now, and then with our braid, just take your 3 sections that you've been working with underneath. So again, take your time, just separate those through into the braid that you've been working with from the top. So you're just looking for 3 sections underneath, 3 sections from the top, and you're just going to place them together. If one piece goes over into an area that it shouldn't, I won't tell if you won't. So don't get yourself hooked up on it. It's just a case of bringing the shape together. So now I'm going to carry on drawing the hair from the underneath as we were before with the original braid. Both sides, pull the hair in, pull the hair in again, and as as we get towards the bottom, we're just tightening this up a little bit so it's nice and close to the head shape. Bring your fingers through. If you want to brush it or comb it, you can. I like the texture that you get because of the way that we've originally braided the hair, which is a look you would have seen a lot at the time. As I say, not everybody had a maid to tidy their hair up and smooth the certain areas out for them. And so a textured sort of feel to the hair would have been a natural thing at the time. Work this down. And again, according to the length of the child that you were doing, this could be extremely long, obviously. And so you just work towards the bottom, and then you would put your ribbon through. I'm just going to use an elastic first, and then I'll struggle with my ribbon as usual. Just take that out, move back to my tail comb and just pull out little areas to give a bit of softness where I want. Keep that separateness through the front. Just check my shape out. And again, if you were doing this in a mirror, if you're doing this, you can see how much lift you want through the front. And as I said, if you look as I push, you can get quite a bit more lift, but it is a child, so you're not going to go crazy. And then I'll just put a little lift there, and then you can get hold of these Victorian Edwardian hair clips, which are quite wonderful. They're plastic now. They're still they come in clear, and they also come in this sort of tortoiseshell colour. And they work like a regular bobby pin, but slightly different. So you can just pop one of those in to the top and slide it down. They look nice, and they also hold it forward. So now you've got that shape. You can see that lift, that Pompadour, child version of a Pompadour, in that area. And so that's quite nice. And then, as I say, if you're doing regular bobby pins, because that's all you have, that's fine too. All you're trying to do is give the idea of that shape. So we'll pop this ribbon onto the bottom. Let's make that a little bit bigger so I can get that through. Probably lost the other end now. And then just slip these and make them slightly wider. You can just pull on the ends and just get them slightly bigger. As I was saying, I mean, some of the bows at the time are absolutely enormous and quite floppy. So what we're doing with this now is we're going to, now that we've got this braid in, this plait in, we're going to then lift this. We're going to pull to the back of the shape, and then with some pins, or again you can use one of your clips, you're just going to hold this into place. And that was just a popular look at the time, where the hair was pulled up. I'll lose those ends, and placed, and the look was braided and plaited using a ribbon, and then you can also use a ribbon on the outside as well if you want, so a secondary ribbon, and it was called a door knocker as a look, and was quite popular. And as we were saying before, when you've got that sort of extra length, it could be right the way down, this is a great way to pull it up, loop it round, and get the hair out of the way. So that was really popular at the time. But that's another look for a teenager that worked really well, and I hope you like it. So you can see the way that the hair is pulled up into that door knocker just by pulling the braid up out, and then you can put the bow, or two bows, one on the underneath and one on the top, just to match and make it a very sort of elegant style for a young lady.